This week we want to talk about the business end of the trailer.
Well, here we are on the business end of your rig. We have a 315 RLTS Grand Design Reflection. It's a very easy to deal with. I've already dumped the black tank, and there is a flush for the black tank. So what I've done is I've already flushed the black tank to make it easier for you to see what I've done afterwards. I will show you the setup here. This is the settings I've got here for the black tank flush. This is your black tank flush right here. That's the orange hose. White hose is drinking water, of course. In the Nautilus system, I've got it set up for sanitize. So it's very easy to read, very easy to set up, very easy to take care of. And once all of that is done, I've flushed the black tank and we're going to pack it up now. With that, I've got this little puppy here. Will fit on the end of the sewer line, and I can hook the orange line onto this. We'll give the sewer line a good flush before we actually pack it up, put it away, and move on to our next destination. But as we're packing it up, I'll show you one other thing. These are the end caps for the hose. Once you've flushed the hose out, you don't need that anymore. You can toss that aside, put it away somewhere safe where you're not going to lose it. And once you've done this, make sure your black tank is closed. I always tilt it up a little bit. Disconnect. And then there's still remnants in there, so with the flush, that other hose there would be a good thing to do. What I always do with this, before I do anything, I put the cap on and click it. And as I go along here, I'm packing it up as we go. Before I disconnect this, I'll get another cap so nothing backs up and spills all over the place, which you don't want. So once you've collapsed this, so that is all sealed off. What I do now, seal this end off and drain whatever is left in the hose, water or black water, whatever you like, or whatever you don't like. This is pretty much the cleanest way to do it. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
And I nominate you.
Once this is done, it's all disconnected. You've got that all sealed off. This all sealed off. Caps on each end. You're not going to spill anything there. You can put that away, store it in your sewer hose storage compartment under the trailer if you have one, or have one long enough. And then you've got the elbow there, and the connection that goes into the trailer. That's the last little bit. And you keep that in a separate tub, which
Wrigley's taking care of.
I've downsized to this little guy right here. It used to be about 4 times this size because I had the storage for the hose in here as well. I've added an additional storage hose or tube for underneath the trailer so I can store 30 feet of sewer hose under the trailer. And now that that's all done, Gloves are off. And that's all done. If we're setting up, you basically want to go in reverse of teardown. You want to put your end caps for your sewer and drainage, which is basically this little elbow right here.
I won't zoom in.
Don't worry, that's not black water. It's just pine needles from the tree that I'm standing under. So put that in the ground, and then all you're going to do is start hooking up your hose. Take one cap off at a time.
Yeah, stand over here where there's not a tree in the way.
Make sure you're clipped in. And since there is air pressure in the hose now, you're going to have to pull this off before you can stretch it out. Before you stretch it too far, you want to make sure your hose cradle is in the right spot, or proper placement. I noticed somebody that was staying near us the other day, last week actually, had their hose cradle in reverse. So they had the highest point right close to the drain, lowest point close to the trailer. It doesn't really work that way.
It don't travel uphill very well.
Yeah, stuff doesn't travel uphill very well. So what I've done is pulled it out. Set her up there. Get it on an up angle so nothing drains out from what may have been left behind before. Grab the end, just over there. And you clip on. It's always good to make sure that there's no kinks in your hose. So if you've got a little bit of extra length, you can collapse it down nice and easy.
I would recommend you don't follow instructions from people you don't know. Exhibit being
Following instructions from people you don't know is fine, as long as you don't follow it to a T. Use it as a reference for what you're doing.
I was making a reference to the movie RV. Because Robin Williams was steered in the very wrong direction, and he was covered in, well, as they said on the video, turd.
Basically, everything is all set up now. What I do with the end caps, since they're not fresh, I put the ends from each hose together, clip them together, and they're not going anywhere, so there's not any extra smell. One of the things you're going to need when you're setting up your water lines, water pressure regulator. They are very important. A lot of the times you're not going to need one, depending on the pressure in the park that you're at. If the pressure for water is 30 or 40 or 50 psi, you will not need this. Anything above 60 psi, you must have this, or one like it, or else you're going to blow out your water lines and you're going to have a big issue inside. You don't want that. So I've been told by Grand Design that the PEX lines that are in my trailer will hold up to 60 psi. No problem. I've been in parks where the water pressure is 80 psi, and you put your hand under it and that will cut your hand. That's how much pressure that is. It's quite a bit. It's a lot to worry about. But what I always do is when I go to a park, I put this on before I even hook up my lines, check the water pressure. If it's anywhere 50 or lower, I take this off, tuck it away, because that's $40 worth of hardware I don't want getting lost or stolen. Yeah, like I say, anything below 50 psi, I'll just hook my water line straight up to it, and we're good to go. So without this, I'll just tuck that away. A lot of people don't realize the difference between the white or a black line or an orange line. White is always defined as your drinking water. The black, or well, the orange line, is what I use for my black tank flush, and that's it.
Question, why can't I just use the garden hose?
Well, the difference between a garden hose and the white hose, or a blue hose for that matter, is the contents that it's made with. Most garden hoses are made with materials such as lead or other materials that can be harmful to anybody, really. So the white or blue hoses are rated for potable water. So they are a cleaner source of water that you can use. If you're flushing your black tank, you can use any hose you want. If you're using it for just drinking water, I would go with something that is rated for potable water.
Okay, good to know. So, and we use the orange hose just as a different color hose.
The orange hose, I use that for flushing the black tank and the black tank only, or flushing the sewer hose when we're packing up and it needs another rinse. That way we've got orange and white. There's no possibility they're going to get mixed up, and so you got your clean hose for drinking water, and the orange or black or green or whatever color hose you want for rinsing your black tank or flushing your sewer line.
So when we arrive at a site, we're always concerned about making sure we have room for slides. We have 2 slides on this side, which is also where you have your power pole and water and all that stuff. So what is our, when we come into a site, what's our game plan?
The basic game plan is make sure you have room for your slides. If you are an extra foot or 2 away with your water lines or sewer lines, that's easy to deal with. If you set up, get everything leveled, everything hooked up, and go to put your slides out, and there's a tree in your way, not fun. So what I've always done is, before I do anything, I put my back against the rig and stretch out. And this is the largest slide that we have, which is a Schwintek slide for our bedroom. If I put my hand out and there's anything within reach of my wrist, other people might be the tips of their fingers or their elbow, depending on how tall you are, of course, how long your arms are. You just got to make sure that there will be room to put your slides out. Since this is the business side of the rig, you've got your electrical pole or your meter. Some people have trees, some people don't have trees there. There might be bushes or anything. There might be another neighbor that's actually pretty close to you. So when you set up your rig, before you put your chocks down, you level side to side, the next thing you're going to do is make sure that you have room to put your slides out. If you don't have room to put your slides out, you're moving over. So before you set up everything, set up all your hoses and have to tear all that down, then you're going to have another issue. one of the more important things, it's actually a lot easier to deal with, having these quick connects. These are all brass, so they put up with a lot of abuse, taking them down, putting them away, packing them up, setting them up, whatever you like. So these quick connects are fantastic. This one here I've got set up for my next install, and it's got the Teflon tape on it already. This is another little thing you might need. It's called a water bandit. If your spigot that you're going to hook onto has minimal threads, 1 or 2 threads that it's hard to attach to, this little guy attaches right onto it, and then you can hook your line onto that. This one here I showed you already. It's for the sewer hose clean out. I've got a quick connect on this, so all I do is unplug my orange hose, hook onto here, and it's nice and easy. No problems at all. Quick connects are definitely a time saver. They're not a must, but they are a time saver, and cut out a lot of headaches. One other thing that I forgot to mention earlier, when you're setting up or tearing down the stabilizer jacks, they should be the last thing to go down when you're setting up, because if you put them down and you have to raise or lower the tongue jack, you're probably going to break them, front or back. So the best thing to do is, once you're leveled side to side, you level front to back. That's when you drop your stabilizer jacks down and you're in place. I've got X-Chocks as well, so that helps with the stabilization in the trailer when you're walking around, so you don't feel the rig moving back and forth all the time. It helps a little bit, not a lot, but every bit counts. One other thing that I feel it's fairly important, because we've had this issue one time, and all it takes is one time and you'll never forget it. We have our equalizer bars for the hitch. We turned a sharp corner one time and one of them fell out. Luckily, the little hook that the chain was hooked into held onto it. We had only gone about half a mile or so, and I could hear this tingling, jing, jing, jingling, jing, jing, and it was one of the bars bouncing on the ground as we're going down the road. So I have come up with a little cable, and I put a loop on each end with a little carabiner clip, and once everything is set up, I loop this through the chains, and if there's ever anything that goes wrong, if we're going down the highway at 40 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour and one of these pops off, we're not losing it. So that's just a little thing that I thought I'd throw in there.
So that's all we wanted to talk about this week, as we're preparing to get ready to head out on the road in the next little bit. One thing we will have to remember is to put our plants somewhere else before we go.
Yeah, well,
they're not going to fare well on the top of the propane tank, Brent.
they'll be fine.
Okay, so bye for now. Please remember to subscribe.
And ring that bell for notifications, and give us a thumbs up if you like what you see. If there's something else that you want to add in, feel free to comment. Please keep it clean, because this is a family channel. Bye for now.
Bye. This week we want to talk about, I just got hit in the face with a friggin' tree. With a tree thingy. Ah!
Well, here we are, business end of your rig. This is basic black tank flush, dump end flush. I've got a Reflection 315 RLTS, so it does have the black tank flush. I've already dumped the black tank, and after you dump the black tank, it's good to flush it out. I do it every time. You might not want to do it every time, but you do. Some people do. Let's start over.
You guys, it was a black tank slush.
When you go to a new park that you're not familiar with, probably 75–80% of the time, you're not going to need one of these. It's a water pressure regulator. But when you do need one,
I can cut that out, but but if you have water that's too
okay, when you are setting up your water lines, one of the first things you want to do is make sure. Okay, your camera kind of drifted off that way when you looked over at Wrigley. We're gonna have to start again then.
nice hands.
Yes, I'm a working man today. You can put your
Chalks.
no, not the chalks, the X chalks. One other thing that I would like to point out that I did get, that I actually made, is we have the
Stabilizers? No.